Hello, everyone. Hi, Chris. How are you?
Great.
Starting. It looks like Veneeth's screen name is spelled wrong. I'm not sure why that is.
Hey, this is Veneeth.
Hi, Veneeth. How are you?
Hey, how are you guys?
It's just now 6 o'clock, so we're going to give people about 2 more minutes.
Okay.
They are trickling on now. How's your evening?
I'm happy my colleague Chris Goranson is joining us.
Absolutely. Happy to have you on, Chris.
I appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely. And I received your deck. Kenyatta shared it with me, but would love to have you potentially just present the deck. It doesn't have to be anything expansive, but I thought it was a great wealth of information that you shared in the deck.
Perfect. I hope the audience finds it valuable. It has been, and I shared with Kenyatta, it had been shared once before, but I'm never certain different audiences. So, and I think it's relevant to keep reminding them.
Absolutely. So we'll let others continue to trickle in. We have about a little over 100 people registered for this webinar. Some who won't attend will definitely watch the playback along with many, many others. And so we're happy to be able to share this with them. And I'll start with a brief introduction. I'll share my screen. And then Chris, I'll turn it over to you for a portion just to share the slides for Move EBR. But I'll let you know when that's time.
Absolutely. And actually, I think before I go, I think Veneeth's gonna.
Yes.
So.
Yes.
Yeah, that'd be perfect.
All right. Let me go ahead and share my screen here. Let me know if you guys can see it. Perfect. And we also have Kenyatta on. Kenyatta is available to answer any questions. He's always a wealth of information, and actually was fortunate to be a part of the original disparity study, Veneeth, so you may know SJB and have had opportunity to work with him. And so Kenyatta is on for this call to answer any questions as needed.
Hello,
And
good
just,
people.
I'm growing out my beard so
Hey,
I can catch
Kenyatta.
up with Kenyatta. So I've never had one of these, but Kenyatta just looks so good with it that I thought I had to have one too.
Come on, man. Don't make me blush like that, man.
Fair winter. All right, so it is my pleasure today to welcome a good colleague and friend of mine who I've known for quite some time. Veneeth, welcome to our monthly webinar series. We host these monthly through a partnership with Solid Ground Innovation and SJB Group. It is completely sponsored and underwritten by DOTD to bring more awareness to the DBE program that exists there. As you know, and we spoke before regarding this webinar, our goal is to bring more informative information about how small businesses can actually contract, not only with DOTD, but other DBE programs and how they're in many ways connected. And so a lot of the work that you all have done with Move EBR definitely crosses over to a lot of small businesses that are in the DBE program, as well as those who are interested in becoming certified. Many have asked us tons of questions about local government contracting and how they actually get started. Are there any type of programs that are certification programs that might give them opportunities to infuse their business in ways that they couldn't previously. And so, as I mentioned, Veneeth is Assistant Chief Administrative Officer for the City of Baton Rouge and East Baton Rouge Parish. He directly works with Mayor-President Broome in executing her mission of quality service, innovation, efficiency, and partnership with the citizens of the city parish of East Baton Rouge. Baton Rouge has a budget of close to $1 billion, and Veneeth especially leads two departments, so purchasing and procurement information services, along with crafting her vision for economic development, small business, and innovation. What did I miss there, Veneeth, that you may want to add?
No, you got it. You got it. It's a lot, but I gotta first of all tell full disclosure. Savitri, you were instrumental in re-recruiting me to come down to Baton Rouge, and so I grew up in Baton Rouge, left in '97, and then wandered the world for 20 years, and then you and I got connected as your career in the tech space started to really take off, and really greatly appreciate. Will be forever in debt to you for re-recruiting me back to come back to Baton Rouge. And when my wife and I moved down January 1 of 2018, the mayor called me into her office and said, "Veneeth, we really need to start to create the kind of economy and to really start to create a generation of entrepreneurs that historically the city has not engaged with. And that really includes helping our disadvantaged business enterprises grow." And so I know there had been attempts in the past to creating a fair share ordinance. There had been attempts in the past to try to engage with the DBE community. And while those attempts may have had the best of intentions, it really didn't have staying power. And so the mayor said, "Veneeth, I need you to start really focusing on creating efforts and initiatives that are really focused on staying power," right? And first thing that she wanted me to do was help her execute and seek city council approval for a disparity study, which I think has been a long-term effort. So Savitri, happy to continue for a few minutes and then hand it over to Chris, if that's okay.
Yes, I have Chris coming up, and so some of the things I would like for us to do or focus on for this topic is the EBR and particularly an update there. You mentioned it already, disparity study, and I have a link where others can read like the full disparity study. And then what is the idea around DBE certification? We talked about the combination of working with BREC and the airport for non-federally funded projects, the Fair Share program, and then we'll get into some Q&A. And so this is how we can definitely go out of order here, but just hoping that we cover the spectrum of these particular topics. And I would love for you to also introduce Chris as well. And we can introduce him as you see fit and as you have shared the information that you would like to before his presentation.
Yeah, so Chris was brought on board, I think, 18 months ago, Chris? How long have you been with City Parish? Maybe over a year. seems like it may be a little bit longer.
It's been over a year. It's been 18 months.
Yeah. So Chris, like myself, had spent a considerable amount of our times in the private sector. So just like Chris, we're both first-time public servants, and our approach to both the work that I'm doing as the ACAO and what Chris is doing as the Director of Purchasing and Procurement is to bring that private sector approach to his department, understanding and being very empathetic to the challenges that the private sector and small businesses have in terms of historically engaging with city parish. And so, we're not your typical folks that have had long histories in government, which I think is a good thing. We, having worked in the private sector, we have spent enormous time with the supply chains of companies, small businesses, and disadvantaged business enterprises that have made Chris's former employers very successful at both Intel and Georgia Pacific, and my employers in the past very successful as well. And so Chris has done a yeoman's job in a couple of really important things: streamlining the current processes of city parish procurement, which is on a day-to-day basis allowing for there to be more opportunities for DBEs to participate, and I'll have him address that. The second is he spends a ton of time really addressing some of the challenges based off conversations he has on a daily basis with myself, with the mayor, with department leaders, and also the broader DBE community to understand at a ground level what your challenges are, and then escalating it to the mayor and saying, Mayor and Veneeth, these are what the challenges are based on what people are saying. These are our current constraints within city parish contracting, and this is where I need your help on, which is why the disparity study, Chris can maybe address a little bit, the DBE certification program, and then ultimately the fair share program, the socially economic disadvantaged business enterprise program, which we'll call program that we're going to create. So I'm going to hand the over conversation to you, Chris, to really talk about, maybe you could work backwards and maybe talk about the disparity study first, since you and I worked closely on it, but you spent a little bit more time, and then what we're doing with MoveEBR, and then we'll chime in as needed.
Yes, and Chris, I can let you share your screen if you would like, if that'll be easier, or would you like me to pull up?
Actually, I'm going to let you. I actually ended up logging on one that was already set up. So if you're fine, I'll just ask you to flip through the side when we get there.
That works well.
That works, so.
I'll do that. Right.
And that way, if I'm long-winded, you can push me forward. So before we kind of jump into the specifics of this presentation, I would like to take a minute and based on the topic list, let's talk about the disparity study and where we're going and the excitement. So as Veneeth mentioned, I too was recruited by the mayor. She has afforded an amazing opportunity for us to really address the concerns in contracting and the outcomes that we've had when we look at the disparity study. And so blessed for this opportunity. At a high level, the disparity study, I think, would reveal what we all knew in our heart, and the data certainly supported it. And Mr. Kenyatta was actually engaged in it as well. But at a high level, if we looked at the local market, the size and the capabilities of our disadvantaged businesses and their past experiences, the spend profile of city parish, we should have been spending about 20% of our available dollars. And we would have expected that those, the vendor lists kind of represent about 40% of the total available vendors. So based on the market, and interestingly enough, and Keen shared this with us, we are very blessed to have a very robust and healthy DBE market, yet based on that, there's no excuse as to why they're not winning and earning more of our business opportunities. And if I'm jumping ahead to somebody else's slide, I apologize.
I just wanted to give a visual to go along with your.
No, that's perfect. So the focus was over 3 years of spending an extensive interview. I believe started kind of at 2,000 businesses, north of 400 or 500 businesses were interviewed and discussed, understood the market capabilities. And as I said, it should have been right around 21%. And unfortunately, our overall results were about 4%. And so hands down, whether intentional or unintentional, the data says that our contracting strategies are putting DBEs at a disadvantage. And so the next question there is what could we do and what have we done? So I'll share with you that in the 18 months I've been there, we have effectively grown the number of DBEs that we're participating with and as well as the contracting amount. I think that Veneeth, and I apologize, it's on the slide in front of me, but I've shared it with you. I think that the number of DBEs that have registered and are made aware of opportunities within the city parish has grown by 400% in the last 18 months. And the spend profile is up over 150%. Unfortunately, going from 4% to 8%, although that's a start, it doesn't close the gap when we're talking about a market that should be receiving 21 or 22%. So in order for us to close that gap, three things had to happen. We had to have the disparity study. And then from there, we need to structure an ordinance that allows us to ensure that we have a fair and equitable playing field and that we can have goals set for spend. And then we have to have a way to certify that programs are, that businesses meet the program guidelines. So I don't want to give away all the secrets on this, but it's a pretty good structured one. I would expect in the very, very near future, and when I say very near, I mean very near because the mayor has wanted this. She has made this a top priority. I know that Veneeth and I meet with her multiple times a week to talk about this. So what we did here, and kind of circling back before we get into the other slides, is some of the concerns about other local DBE programs. And so one of them was, how do we make sure we have teeth in it? How do we ensure that there's compliance? And then more importantly, how does this not become one more hurdle, one more certification, one more barrier to even bidding and being successful? And in parallel with that, we also provide and support the airport, and then BREC, kind of the Baton Rouge, I don't even know what the EC, I just know them as BREC, but the community parks and association, they have a program. So the mayor, under her leadership, along with Corey and along with the airport, we have purposely tried to do a joint certification. So you won't have to certify multiple places. One certification will make you eligible, has a certified DBE to participate in any goals and goal setting that any of those agencies have set up for their local tax dollars. So I apologize that we're 6 or 8 weeks later than we want to be. I also think that we have done a great job of having a shared vision and trying to make this program robust and something that DBE businesses can engage and find value in. So excited about where we are, excited about some announcements that are coming very shortly in terms of the structure and the details, and hopefully we get an invite maybe as soon as next month or certainly the month after to talk about the nuts and bolts. That said, one of the things that I have a lot of passion on is seeking to understand before I want to be understood. So we've spent a lot of time trying to understand in the current structure what's happening, why aren't we engaging, why aren't our DBEs winning opportunities. And so Move EBR is an overall program. And I guess we can probably even flip over into my slides unless I missed something on this one. Perfect. So as you know, Move EBR recently, within the last few years, we raised, put a tax out there. It was voted on and approved, and the intent is to really improve the roads and some connections and sidewalks and those types of things across Baton Rouge. And the projected spend's about $1 billion, and it covers 40 major programs and projects. The original sourcing strategy, for those that may or may not be kind of familiar with it, based on past experience and a sense of urgency to execute these projects effectively and efficiently, the city parish actually ended up engaging with both CSRS and Stantec as co-program managers. And one really has the major roads, right-of-ways kind of construction, and the other one has the infrastructure side. So those two are key partners in the overall MOVE EBR, obviously along with the city parish. And so if we jump to the next slide, what is MOVE EBR? So MOVE EBR from our perspective is the industry standard of excellence in delivering a transportation solution that's going to really move our region into a safe and sustainable manner that will enhance our strong neighborhoods. It's going to enhance our communities, and really it's a driver for economic vitality for all of the residents of East Baton Rouge. And all I have to do is think about Amazon's recent decision to locate facilities here in the area. They understand the importance of the infrastructure, and that's what this program is focused on. So I know the mayor appreciates the taxpayers supporting it, and we appreciate the opportunity to improve it. So overall, if we think about it, there's 40 new capacity improvement opportunities. The value of those are about $805 million, and there's 12 existing corridor improvements at around $200 million. And then construction in terms of community enhancement road projects, $68 million, some signalization, synchronization for $40 million. So north of a $1 billion opportunity when it's all said and done with the ancillary projects and programs and opportunities. So where are we in terms of that? The program's actually only been up and live for about 16 months, and the headway has been amazing. So right now we have 26 different projects in planning. We have 22 in the engineering phase of procurement. We have 18 in design. We have let 3 for construction, and of the total contracts that have been awarded so far, 26 million have been spent with our local companies. So the goal with MOVE EBR and the vision, both by the mayor and the program managers, has been to ensure that we afford and engage our small business. There's a specific small business outreach team, and their vision and mission is to ensure meaningful participation by small minority, women-owned, veteran-owned businesses. And they do that through a lot of timely communication. There's some very specific capacity building strategies, and they're also providing technical assistance. Now, Ms. Wilson, I'm going to fully disclose something on this topic. So if we think of city parish and we think of the overall structure, there's one aspect of procurement, which I would say is accountability. And then there's another aspect of oversight. I have accountability for many purchases within city parish, from fire trucks to PPE to meals for the Head Start program. And all of those purchases are made within my team, within my organization, directly working with my peers and my counterparts in their respective departments. When it comes to major programs such as MOVE EBR, I have more of an oversight role, and that's really structured to ensure that we have compliance to public bid law, but it also is subject matter expertise that I just don't have within my team. So if you ask me to pick an architect to design a road or a bridge, I'm pretty good, but I'll be honest, I'm much smarter in semiconductors and biotech. So obviously through the state and through other state laws and ordinances, there's an architectural review committee. And then we have engineers that design or spec out the concrete and the yardage and all of that. So they're really developing the scope of work. I am responsible for oversight in terms of ensuring that it's publicly let, that we have a bid opening, and that we're compliant to our ordinances and the state laws that govern public works projects. So I know enough about this to be dangerous, but I'm going to disclose that the MOVE EBR, BLRA.gov, if you want really specific questions on a specific program project or the go-to-market strategy or why it was a major project was broken into 6, 7, or 8, they're the folks that know. And once again, I know a lot. Veneeth knows a lot, but if you asked us about traffic patterns, not something that we're studying daily. So I'm going to talk to these slides. I'll do my best to answer the questions, but I'm going to share with you that they are really some of the forefront in the day-to-day. So I'd stress MOVE EBR, BLRA.gov. But let's kind of talk about the general process and the program. And then more importantly, I want to talk about the concerns I see from the oversight and more importantly, from the compliance side. So for potential bidders, if those are the programs and projects you're interested in, and we're focused on kind of the major public works, we do advertise in our journal of record, and that journal of record is the Advocate. We do also put all of our bids out on the PAC. So depending on where you're going, I also recognize that not everybody reads the paper on Saturday or Friday or Thursday to see if Chris has a bid. So the PAC's a great website. The other one in the current bid platform that we use and we accept in terms of digital responses is Bid Express. And certainly you can log on to Bid Express and you can find our opportunities there. In addition, this feels a lot like on the first two. I hope you saw the opportunity, and that doesn't really feel like I'm being the owner of choice and I want to work with vendors of choices. So I would also share that if you log on and you fill out the form under vendor self-service, which is under our purchasing, and it takes less than 10 minutes and there's a phone number if you get stuck. I think it's relatively intuitive. But you fill out your information, the commodity codes that you provide. We will actually proactively notify you when we're releasing a bid. So I would highly advise that you select more than just one commodity code, or if we think of parent-children codes, go one or two up. The worst case is you get a few extra emails on opportunities that you're not interested in today, but you also are aware of the opportunities that are out there. So for major public works, you're going to see them really coming a lot through the Move BR program. They have a wonderful website, but you will also, if you're registered with vendor self-service, be made aware of those as well. So that's
Chris.
Message out.
Hey, Chris, can I interrupt you? I want to really emphasize why vendor self-service is important, because before 2018, I think there was a big challenge among the DBE community in terms of getting visibility to what opportunities are going to come down the pipeline. Because I think often what we heard was that there was that by the time a DBE or any small business realized that there was a bid, it was too late for them to properly prepare an application. And so what we heard a number of times from small businesses and DBEs was, A, can you make sure that you share all the opportunities now and into the future so you can better prepare? But also, more importantly, rather than always coming physically to City Hall on the 8th floor to submit your paperwork, what we've done with vendor self-service was to automate a lot of that functionality, really saving you time. So irrespective of Movie BR or other opportunities that are not Movie BR related, it's really critical that you register an account or log in and create an account within vendor self-service. And in fact, when we formally launch our program, Fair Share program, and the certification program, the first step the mayor is going to tell people to do, ask folks to do, is to register on vendor self-service. So as much as you can start to get ahead of that now, I think it would be great. Sorry, Chris.
No, and I think there's another benefit that I really want to stress here. When we think of opportunities and we think of our ordinance, I'm gonna isolate two different kind of types of purchases. So for materials and supplies, the state law, revised statute, and our ordinance, items greater than 30,000, I need to formally let. Items between 5,000 and 30,000, I can do through an informal 3-quote solicitation. And so where I find those, I don't go to the yellow pages, and I'm a little older, but I don't thumb through looking for a business name. I specifically go to our vendor self-service to seek vendors that provide those services. And we'll actually even use a randomizer tool. If I only need 3 quotes and I know what I can afford, we'll randomly pick 3, and that's who we're going to reach out and ask to quote it. Now, if it's a public works project, the law says greater than 250,000, and that number recently changed, but greater than 250,000, I have to do a formal bid notification. Under 250,000, I don't have to do a formal bid notification. has a practice, we've historically over 50 and up to 250 done bid notifications, a formal bid notice. I think as we roll out our programs and some of the structural changes to improve our efficiency and to really help us drive better spending habits and patterns, we're going to be relying more and more on the vendor self-service and doing quotations. So it's truly the way our ordinance is written is it's the purchasing director's discretion if I want to, under 250,000, do a formal invitation to bid. As a practice, we have done that. I think in the future, that is something that we are seriously challenging and asking ourselves, are we creating the most value? Is 20, 30, 50, 80 vendors bidding on a mechanical HVAC or a small construction project the best use of City Parish's time, dollars, and effort put forth? And what I've heard from the community is, I'd be interested in bidding your opportunities, Chris, but if I'm 1 of 80, I don't have that appetite anymore. And so we have, and there's things that protects taxpayers, right? So we have an engineer's estimate and a budget. So if based on our good faith estimate, it's a $200,000 project, I can't spend 250,000. But inviting the world and having a group of bids that came in between 171,000 and 173,000, I don't know if we're creating value for the city parish. So the other one, and I haven't shared this with Veneeth, and I haven't even ran it by the parish attorney, but I'll give you another example of one that we're challenging the status quo. So I was recently presented a bid, and it was truly for fencing. And you would go, oh, this isn't rocket science, it's purchasing, go establish a unit price for fencing. Okay, well, the cost of showing up to make a repair on a chain link fence that was cut is probably pretty cheap. But the cost of showing up to repair a fence that was hit by a car, a little cheaper. If I'm looking for somebody to show up and fence in a 75 or 100 acre piece of parcel, it's different. So I challenged the buyer and said, if we think of the cost structure, I would expect the smaller the job, you've got drive time, windshield time, this, that, linear feet that chain link comes in, you got to post it. And I walk them through, I would expect to spend, I would expect the should cost to be around $20, $25 a linear foot for a really small job, and dropping all the way down to 7 or 8. And then he said, well, that's great. And I said, but are we asking them to take a different fence out? And he goes, well, yeah, I mean, and I'm like, well, wait a minute. How am I going to ask a vendor to give me a unit pricing? I'm going to award a year-long contract, and I'm going to tell you, you might do 10 feet, you might do 1,000 feet, you might have to take out the existing structures, you might not have to. So kind of asked the buyer point blank, and I love when I challenge my team and my team challenges me back, and I said, really, most of these programs, looking at our existing invoices, are under 250,000. If we think based on our knowledge, it's between 50 and 250, then let's go solicit multiple quotes. If it's going to be greater than 250, I mean, that's significant. Let's follow the invitation to bid. But back to that exclusionary perspective, why am I trying to lock in one vendor to every chain link, plastic fence, wood fence that I do in City Parish? Doesn't meet the mayor's intent, doesn't meet my intent. And it puts the vendors at a disadvantage to bid it because the scope of work is so variable. So when we talk about how we've tried to engage, tried to rethink, challenge the status quo, something as simple as purchasing a fence that came up this week, we go, no, we're going to do this differently going forward. And I share that because it's technically a public works. It is the erection, construction, modification, or demolition of public property. So the plug, please get on the vendor self-service, register. And when I'm looking for some chain link fencing, I'm telling my folks, hey, let's go look at the vendors that we have there, and let's grab 3 and invite them to bid it.
Absolutely.
Sorry.
And if you have any questions, definitely feel free to drop them in the Q&A box, and we'll get to them towards the end of this conversation. And Chris, let me know how you want me to advance the slides.
Oh, you're great. That was a long-winded story, but one I have a lot of passion on, and an example of how we're trying to change and challenge the status quo. So in terms of the projected 12-month construction advertisement outlook for Move EBR, especially since, I've got probably a stronger DOTD audience here. This is kind of looking at the major projects or programs. You can see the estimated range or value of those and the expected letting period for those projects. This data is taken specifically from the Move EBR website. If for some reason, and I'm in the steering committee meetings regularly, we might have issues in terms of purchasing right-of-ways, or we might have wetlands that we're working through permits. So this is our good faith estimate, but please, stay abreast as to what's going on, and it'll help really calibrate where we are in terms of the letting. And there's so many different facets in terms of major construction when we get into evaluating the utility side, maybe doing utilities movements. Then we get into the right of ways and the purchasing and the deeds, and then the architectural side and the actual construction side. So depending on the services you provide, pay attention there, and that's a great way to know what opportunities are coming up. If it's a professional services specifically to the architectural side, Move EBR will walk you through how to register, how to make sure that we're aware of your skills, your capabilities, your experience. And we use the selection board. I will put a plug for the selection board that we have done a great job in identifying, partnering, and engaging with DBEs. I think right now the data would say on the professional services side, we're trending in the 25% range.
That's great.
I do apologize. Y'all are going to get a quick tour of my home, but unfortunately I was sitting at my table and I didn't grab the battery charger, and it just said low battery. So
it happens. It happens to the best of us.
We're all living in the new COVID world. So I do apologize.
It happens to the best of us.
I guess, and I know this is recorded, but if you hear a scratching noise in the background, my daughter has a hedgehog and he likes to be active this time of evening. So perfect. So I think what concerns me the most, though, and back to being the vendor of choice and wanting to help engage, is understanding the root cause as to when and why folks are not winning. So my team did a deep dive looking at some public works projects that were let in 2020. We went through 28 projects. And this is one that has me concerned in terms of missed opportunity for both city parish and proposers. So of the 28, 12 projects had bids that we had to deem as non-responsive, i.e. they had errors that prevented them from being accepted. So of the 28, 12, there was 33 total bids that were non-responsive. So it's kind of a slight typo or play there. But if you think of 28 projects and 12 having errors, 14 would be 50%. So I'd tell you almost 50% of the projects that we went to market and we solicited bids, that one of those bids were deemed as non-responsive, and then it was 33 absolute bids. So some projects had multiple bids that we had deemed non-responsive. So in terms of economic impact, what does this mean? I can tell you that I paid $125,000 more than what the lowest bid was because I had to disqualify them. And unfortunately, some of those bidders were DBEs. And so it was a double whammy for me. There was one bid that went out, and maybe we were fortunate, maybe we were unfortunate, but the engineer's estimate and the scope and what we thought, the difference between the lowest bid and the highest bid was almost a $2 million difference. And so had we had to move forward with the highest bid, it was outside the engineer's estimate, but had we moved forward with it, potentially a $2 million swing. So too many of my DBs, too many of my businesses are out there, too many of these citizens are out there paying in taxes, working hard, and we want to make sure we get the best value. So a lot of this discussion is going to go on why are we disqualifying bidders, and kind of my ask of how we can maybe stop, think, and ask and dissect why we had the errors. Next slide. So I talked about the cash cost. I always like to think of it from the proposer side. So if we thought of 10 to 15 hours in preparing bids, and I'd tell you that some of these take a lot longer than that, that was a conservative estimate, more than 500 hours, 500 man hours almost a quarter of somebody's year was lost because we didn't follow basic instructions. So if you're, and I've seen how detailed folks get and how much work they put trying to get the best proposal forward, and for them to be disqualified for a basic grammatical type error is just heartbreaking. So please stop, think, ask, and most importantly, think through your structures of what opportunities you can do to make sure you don't. Somebody else was at 8%. That wasn't me. So, all right. So we know there's an opportunity cost to taxpayers, and we know there's an opportunity cost to the vendors. So what is driving that? Next slide. We tried to come up with a way to think about it, and I would tell you that the most common bid areas are made by one of your pals. And if you think about that and you just slow down, and before you submit it in Bid Express, or before you hand those documents into us, have I covered my pals, or one of my pals looking through my documents? So what do I mean by that? 1A documents, significant amount of errors, kind of the preparation side, acknowledging the addenda, ensuring that you have the right license and the right license is active, and then spelling and signing. And so if I had my proposers just asking and thinking about one of their pals, I think that we could address all of the errors that we saw in terms of disqualification. So I'm not going to pick on anybody. I want to share with you really what happens. And unfortunately, in public bid law, our hands are tied. In the private sector, I have a lot more leniency, but it's a black and white issue when it comes to public bid law. So examples, written sum does not match. You can see on this one that the proposer wanted to propose $1,060,295. I certainly think we would all agree that that was their number. If we look at what they wrote $1,060,295. So when we have the error between the written words and the numerical, we have to deem it as non-responsive. So, and I will share with you that this would have been a low bid. So $1 million opportunity, and we just mixed up those two. Next one. Bidders must acknowledge all of the addenda. So, unfortunately, I think addenda is both a benefit and an Achilles heel. Addenda give us an opportunity to provide clarification and really help proposers better understand the scope and anything that we may have missed when we initially went to market. Unfortunately, though, if we have multiple addenda, you have to acknowledge each addenda. So this bidder was deemed non-responsive because they didn't acknowledge all the addenda. You can see they acknowledged 1 and 2, but there should have been 3. I know that there's multiple platforms. City Parish currently uses Bid Express. Full disclosure, City Parish is always evaluating the platforms. We want a platform that is user-friendly and robust. But one of the issues that we've been made aware of with Bid Express, they use 2 agencies to verify the quality of the bid bond. And so interestingly enough, and it was a last minute kind of bid, and it was the first time this person had ever used Bid Express, they had submitted all their information, but you'll see on the right that they were unable to do a bid bond verification. And that was because the agency that they were using didn't recognize their bonding company. This one hurt even more because after we were made aware, had they submitted the paper documents, we actually would have been able to rate it and it would have met our rating and we would have accepted it. So if you've never used Bid Express before, my coaching is to make sure that your bond company is one that can be verified by Bid Express's platform. I know they use 2 to verify it, but if you believe that your bond company meets the class requirements, then go ahead and just submit the paper bid. That's only happened once, but I'm sharing it with you. This one is one that I promise you, Veneeth and I have not let die because it stung both of us. So on the right-hand side, you see the instructions and it's kind of goes through and talks about line items. And then on the left-hand side, you can see that our directions specifically said where no dollars and no cents is part of the bid, you're to put a 0. And I think the spirit and the intent of when this originally occurred is when you look at unit price and even on this picture, is that 22 cents? Is that $22? Is that 22 something? My understanding though is the language on the left may be city parish specific. I'm trying to work with a few others and I'm open to it, but if I find out it's city parish specific, we will probably be striking that. But in fairness to everybody, appreciate that 22 is, it really is nearly indecipherable if that was 22 cents per pound or $22. And certainly you can multiply by the quantity to get there, but public bid law says I'm not supposed to do backwards math engineering. So as a practice, I would prefer you to do that. We had that written as a must. And so we are challenging ourselves. Is that must or is that a best practice? And how could we rethink that if it's not mandated from the state side? Because this is a uniform bid template. So I'd stress to you, just think of one of your pals. 1A documents not being provided is honestly about 50 to 70% of reasons why we're disqualifying bidders. Licensing, I'm actually only aware of 1 or 2. Public bid law, you have a right to ask me once I've let the bid, why did you license it this way? I appreciate that challenge. I've looked at contracts recently and I'll use the tree arborist. We do a nominal amount of work removing dead wood from under it's at a port location, and the past administration had structured a contract that said you had to have a certain type of insurance and a certain level of experience, and it's about 2% of my overall spend. So we're purposely breaking that contract up now. I get why the port wants that insurance. I respect that, but I'm not going to disqualify 50 potential businesses that could do arborist service because only one has the right insurance. And those are the things that we purposefully are trying to address. So that's what Veneeth and I are constantly working at and towards. So real quickly, wrapping this up, and this really just talks about the 1A side. So 1A, I wish I had discretion. I don't. I think because y'all support DOTD, you can appreciate this. It's kind of coming through on the DOTD side, but they are mandated by state statute. So ensuring that you do your certification regarding department suspension, ensuring that the attestation clause for past criminal convictions and the legal citizen affidavit, basic forms, make sure they're there. And so, right, the Louisiana Public Works Uniform Public Bid Work form is the one we use, and that's actually mandated by the state, and it's going to be consistent across the state. So if you're trying to do business both at the state level or with any municipal opportunity, we're all going to be using the same forms. Make sure that you get your corporate resolution, and then also ensuring there's no concerns with your bid bond or making sure that you submit your bid bond. So that too has occasionally happened. I will fully disclose that I think we might have 1 or 2 more documents that you would find within City of Baton Rouge, Parish of East Baton Rouge, and Jefferson Parish that are not necessarily in West Feliciana or East Feliciana or St. Tammany. Those are written in the state law. It happened well before me ever joining and becoming a public servant. My understanding though is from opening to award execution, I think we have 45 or 60 days, depending on which one I'm looking at. We city parish have to go through as a consolidated government, the opening, make sure that the agency is aligned with it. Then we have to get it in front of the Metro Council for approval, and then we can go execute. So I believe the reason we made these documents mandatory up front on public works was to ensure that we could meet these timelines. So special provisions and contract documents for your records. So, there's standard specifications and supplemental provisions. Once again, just make sure that those are retained. So that's what I have. I hope it wasn't too much, and I'm happy to answer any questions that folks may have.
No, thank you. That was very detailed. And I know that a lot of the DBEs who are on this call or those who are in the process of getting certified for DOTD are very appreciative for actually seeing what were some of the reasons why the bids were rejected. I think we often get that as questions like, what are we doing wrong? How do we actually get some movement with a lot of the things that we're submitting proposals for? So those are some of definitely the reoccurring themes that I know I see. And Kenyatta, I know you might have some thoughts there as well of how we can better just prepare DBEs. So I think that whereas by they're prepared and they're submitting correctly for DOTD, that type of just diligence crosses over from the state down to local. You're on mute.
Apologize. With us, it's just a matter of us continuously being proactive and knowing what's going on. That's why, I spent a few times speaking with Chris and also speaking with Veneeth whenever we had any functions with just providing the technical support. They all come to the table doing great work, but it's that technical support in the back office that they have challenges with, which falls in line to what Chris was just stating about the, the bid law, properly filling out the proposals. We're fortunate to be an engineering firm, so we're pretty established with understanding the design build side. We have an expert here that can help with the contract language for that. But he also does a lot of work with DOTD from a standpoint of understanding their contract. So we're fortunate to be able to do that. And we also have a contract that we have with the Baton Rouge Airport as their consultant. So we have a pretty good hands-on knowledge of the contracts that go out. I can piggyback what Chris was stating on some of the projects, man. I think we had a project that came through last time. I think we might have had to go through 6 different firms because they just improperly filled out the post-bid documents. And so we're able to assist in that. We offer upfront the opportunity for them to contact us prior to submitting the bid because we also keep them abreast of all upcoming projects as soon as they're advertised. I know with our DOTD contract, as soon as it's advertised, we're sending it out. We've been doing, being proactive as far as the Move EBR. We want to be hands-on. I love the fact that I saw that they had so much participation. I think there might have was one firm, and you all, Veneeth and, Chris, y'all can correct me on this. I think there was one firm from the engineering phase with Move EBR that didn't have a DBE on there. Every other prime that won a contract had multiple DBEs on their team. I know we were fortunate to win one as a prime. So just with our background and what we can offer, I think it can streamline a lot of the efforts that City Parish is doing, what they have coming through the pipeline, also with Move EBR. That's why, we was excited to have you all come on, because I think with them hearing it from you all, it just gives them to understand that there is a lot of moving parts being addressed behind the scenes that can coincide with what's going on with the federal side, dealing with DOTD. So, hopefully, Mr. Vitri, that kind of fell in line to what you want me to say. We definitely are in a position to help in all aspects. I've seen some of the points that Chris was mentioning, just keeping them informed on the advertisements. As we see those things coming out, we know a lot of times you are out and about doing the projects, so we do our best to keep you informed of what's going on from, the transportation aspect, but also as Move EBR. I've been speaking with a lot of the firms about the projects that's going to be coming up. If I'm not mistaken, the mayor announced that we're going to have roughly 21 or 26 projects that's going to be starting the construction phases. Yeah. I've already been behind the scenes communicating that with the DBE. So as they're advertised, we're going to get that information out there. And also just, from the design aspect and also the construction aspect, you all can lean on us for that. We have relationships because of us being an engineering firm, but you also have us having a solid footprint in the construction arena by way of our DB supported services contract. So we can really dive off in there to help get you in front of these contractors before they even start advertising the projects. Because if you wait till then, you're really behind the eight ball. And then also with the bid law, I just wanted to offer that as well. We can follow up on it with our expert that we have here on staff. He can address those things while you're putting together bids to make sure you understand that language, to make sure you're putting together a solid bid. But you can also reach out to the Southern University Law Clinic. They do a lot of pro bono work in that aspect, and they will, help you understand the language that might be unfamiliar to you, especially if you're new in this market. So for all firms on here who are certified, all of our services are free. It doesn't cost you anything. I see that Ms. Joanne Lawrence is in attendance. We have a great ecosystem of partners that we work with as far as resource agencies. We complement one another. Where we may need some assistance in, they can fill in, and vice versa. And their services are free, just like Louisiana Small Business Development Center and also LED. I think we got a great team working together. So we're here to help you all. So let's just take advantage of what we can offer. And so I'm gonna just pass it back on to you, Ms. Savitri, because I'll take the showing. You'll be here for too long now. I'll be like a pastor in front of the church now.
No,
Can I interject one thing before you turn that over?
So, I'm going to actually turn it over to Veneeth to add any final updates from economic development perspective. But yes, Chris, please.
No, I want to echo what Mr. Kenyatta said. So appreciate that when I have an active bid out, I'm really in a quiet period. And you might have one of the most innocent questions. And if you ask it specifically about an active bid, I really can't answer it. And so what I usually do is say, I highly recommend you reach out to Mr. Kenyatta. And if he doesn't know, but I'm 100% certain he probably knows, he can help you through this. And I will share with you that I have reached out to Kenyatta at 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night to say, hey, buddy, there's a bid opening tomorrow. Somebody's going to reach out to you ASAP. And he's like, just send him my personal cell. No, we got to help him. We got to do this. So
yes, Kenyatta definitely goes above and beyond and is always open and available to talk to bees. And we always communicate back and forth. And that's definitely something that he overemphasizes and tries.
He is a resource. He's an advocate. He is a champion. He is one of the greatest assets, and the fact that so many folks get that service and that knowledge for free amazes me. So I'm going to stress to this audience, please leverage the SJB and Kenyatta, a wealth of knowledge to help you navigate this process. And Veneeth and I are always available. It just can't be on a specific open bid.
Right. And so that actually, well, Veneeth, I want you to, is there anything additional that we missed that you'd like to add from work that you're working on before we jump into Q&A?
No, I think Chris and Kenyatta captured it pretty effectively. I think the last thing, so a couple of things. We're trying to streamline purchasing and procurement as much as we can to make it easier for DBEs to participate. However, I think it's really critical that DBEs really pay attention to the application and the rules, et cetera, because we see numerous times when DBEs should get a contract, but because they didn't correctly read the instructions, we have to disqualify them. So while you hold us accountable to making sure we make it easier for you guys, we want to make sure you guys are also held accountable to making sure that you follow the instructions we're both working on the same team. And so while we continue to do that, we'll work on the bigger structural things, such as breaking down contracts, working with department leaders to really evaluate whether certain licenses are really needed, as opposed to it's a must-have as opposed to a need to have. So trust us that we'll continue to break those contracts up, that will continue to streamline, but help us with making sure that when we do have an opportunity, there are opportunities, that you guys follow the instructions as much as you can. And, I'm sensitive to time, so I want to make sure we address some of the questions that are
Yes.
asked.
And so one question here we have is, we are a small DBE business that offers professional process improvement services and has successfully helped many city departments attain operational excellence. How can we develop the relationships and have conversations with key staff so that we can share how we can create value, enable city departments to serve their residents better, faster, friendlier, and more efficiently? We have learned that waiting until an RFP comes out is too late to create the needed awareness and relationships. How would you all address that? And so there definitely, particularly in government contracting, people are always telling us you have to get out here, you have to meet with people, you have to connect with people, you have to be able to engage them and understand maybe what is coming down the pipeline before it hits, to Chris's point, because once you have an active bid, it's hands off. So is there a way to build those type of relationships?
So it's a really good question, Alfredo. Before the pandemic, we were hosting quarterly equity and business seminars where we would actually bring department leaders to meet with vendors. We were doing that on a quarterly basis before the pandemic, and of course the pandemic has impacted all and so on and so forth. So we're going to start to very likely at the end of February, if not March, reconstitute these equity and business virtual seminars where we bring in department leaders to meet with as many different vendors as possible. It's a way for you to get on their radar and for them to get on your radar. I think that's number one. The second is, feel free to reach out to us. One of the things that we try to do is, and I don't know where you're based, Alfredo, but whether it's reaching out to your city council, who then escalates it to us. But feel free to reach out to, people like Chris or myself directly. I think, oftentimes, there's this perception that we don't have time to give to businesses, but as much as we can, reach out to us, reach out to Kenyatta, and they'll make sure that you're in front of the relevant folks that we think make sense. Chris, did you have any other thoughts?
No, I think you nailed it. So, and having that private sector background, so you're always trying to understand the market trends and where the opportunities are, and you see that from a business standpoint, and I think the mayor's expectation is this is managed like a business. So, I certainly know that I have some missed opportunities in terms of efficiency within my department. I will also share that. We're juggling many balls, and there's just a lot of key priorities that we're really trying to get over the finish line. So always share that information. I think that whether it's in terms of process or structure improvement or a new widget, we represent the taxpayers, we represent the folks that are out doing the real work, and we want to leverage those. So if you see that, I think Veneeth's spot on. I do hope that we work through this pandemic. I know that SJB Group had done some amazing events. There was one at the airport. I had just joined City Parish, and the last one was unfortunately done over Zoom, and it just didn't have the same touch and feel. So I'm excited to get back to where we can engage and we can shake hands and we can step away from a table and we can have a chat about what we can do between here and there. Submit it digitally, make a request, get some time with us. We'll certainly do our best to accommodate that. And please don't give up on us. Just know that we don't know what we don't know, and we're always excited about new opportunities.
Yes, we have a few more questions here, so I'll try to get to them. I know we're running about 2 minutes over, so hopefully everybody can bear with us for another 5 minutes or so. Question here from Barbara: are you accepting quotes from companies outside of East Baton Rouge, for example, Lafayette?
The answer is yes. So we do not have a geographical exclusion on the projects that I am intimately aware of. So there is, if you're a Lafayette company, you know what, it's treat a neighbor like we want to be treated. Come on over and help us create some value.
Great. Jasmine here says, what are the requirements to get DBE certified? And obviously there is DOTD, which Kenyatta, just reach out to Kenyatta, he can explain that to you. And from your end, Veneeth and Chris, you guys, there is currently no true DBE certification, but you're working on one. So can you kind of clarify what exists today? How are you defining DBEs in lieu of having like a true certification? Can you explain a little bit of that?
So Chris, if you can explain shortly what we're trying to do with
I'll do my
Breck
best.
and
So,
Airport.
I think you're going to see our program looks a lot like what I would call DOTD Light. So very similar in terms of the maybe revenue, or certainly that you have to be a 51% owner and actively involved and engaged. But where DOTD may actually have a site visit, we may reserve the right to do a site visit. So I will share with you that for me, the DOTD standard is the gold standard. I think that our program will look similar, but will be a little lighter version. And it is our hope that you recognize that although MoveEBR is a great opportunity, there is a lot of money being spent across the state and outside of the city of Baton Rouge and the parish of East Baton Rouge. And so if I can get you into my certification program and get you maybe 60, 70% of the way there to DOTD, and you have a few wins, you're going to work with Kenyatta, you're going to work with Ms. Wilson, and you're going to take this over the goal line and make yourself eligible for both federal and other state opportunities. So I would share with you, it's DOTD Light is probably the best way to think about it. It is going to have a little twist in terms of being a social economic. So you would have a statement of social and economic disadvantage, but the qualifications, if we thought of maybe a numerical scale, is going to look a lot like what you all do on the DOTD side.
Yeah.
Just once again, just contact me. I'll be more than happy to share with you the full requirements. I put my contact information all in the chat. So just feel free to email or give me a call on my direct line, and I'll walk you through the process. Whoever that was that asked the question.
Yes, and so Kenyatta.sparks@sjbgroup.com. If you look in the chat, you should be able to see it there along with the website and social media handles as well. Next question is, I see that there are opportunities listed on the upcoming procurement page on city.brla.gov. Are these actual or tentative or just possible opportunities?
It depends where you clicked in the end and ended up, because we're actually doing a lot of things with open data. If you are under the purchasing side and you see upcoming bids, those are typically active and out. There is another link, especially as we think of being open and transparent, where you can see every contract and when it is expected to expire. My only caution on that is my contracts are typically structured maybe for 1 year with 2 1-year renewals. So if things are going well, we may renew for year 2 or year 3. So if you see it under open data, I can't guarantee you that it's going to be bid at the end of that, because we may choose to renew. If you're looking under the purchasing side of brla.gov, those are going to be open and active. They're not proposed or expected. Those are the real thing.
If something currently isn't out for bid, for example, more services and products such as HVAC, will there be opportunities to increase, or is there a way to know, or are you kind of just being on the lookout for?
No, I think HVAC's a great example, and it really, it's one of those where is it an emergency and is it under 250, and we're going down that discussion we had where I'm going to solicit quotes from vendor self-service, or is it something more formal? So with the HVAC, we're doing a major renovation right now on one of the buildings, the theater downtown. So I can't say that I've seen an HVAC, but that would be a big opportunity. But the city parish has a very large footprint with many buildings between the airport that I'm buying for, as well as the different justices, the city court. So please register at VSS. And then if it's large, you're probably going to see it as an invitation to bid. But back to streamlining and being efficient, we're probably going to really rely on those vendors that have expressed interest through vendor self-service to solicit, a a $10,000 or $15,000 HVAC at maybe one of our Head Start centers. So I don't know the exact number, but I think we've got north of 100, 150 buildings ranging from multi-million square feet to 10,000 square feet. So vendor self-service, my constant plug.
Yes. Well, thank you all for just answering questions. I know we had a few more that rolled in, but I definitely would suggest for individuals to register to actually receive bid opportunities as they come down, not only with East Baton Rouge and the City of Baton Rouge, but also with SJB and DOTD as well. Because if you're not registered, if you're not receiving them, then you probably have no idea what's going on. And then you come on calls like this and you're like, oh, I didn't realize all of this was going on. And so these programs have been implemented to in the intention to essentially get more small businesses, more minority businesses to do government contracting on the local level, as well as at the state level with DOTD. We also in other webinars talk about doing contracting with the airport. And so if you have tuned into other webinars, you know, every month we offer new insights and we bring on new guests to talk about various areas of contracting. Government contracting, we had a few questions related to how do you get going? How do you apply? And so coming up, we will have webinars dedicated to specifically understanding and training individuals on how to become DBE certified and then the processes that need to be taken to actually find, register, and then submit bids. And so thank you again, everyone, for joining us this evening and taking out time out of your busy schedules to listen in and learn more about how you can do business with the City of Baton Rouge and East Baton Rouge Parish and Mayor-President Broome's commitment to increasing the number of small businesses and minority businesses who have access to contracts and doing business with the city. Any final words, Chris, Veneeth, and Kenyatta?
For me,
No, just thank you. Yeah, and thank you for putting this together. Appreciate it, and look forward to working with all you guys.
Thank you. And Ms. Jo Lawrence, thank you again for always coming on and joining us. She made a note here for those who need bonding. Please reach out to her at jo.lawrence3@sba.gov. Other than that, we will be sending out just all information related to this conversation, including the recording. So be on the lookout for that. And for those of you who had friends who also registered but couldn't attend, if they registered, they also receive a copy of this video and some other details of what's coming next. So thank you all again, and I hope you all have a great night.
Good night.
Thank you.
Good night.